Hey everybody, welcome to Field of Dreams on NCBN TT. I'm Steve David and I'm your host. Today I want to talk about life after the Normalization Committee, and helping me today will be my good old friend Anthony Clark. Welcome to said Anthony.
Thank you for inviting me again, Steve. It's always a pleasure.
All right, but everybody, you're looking at me like this is not the what we're going to talk about. This I said prospective life after.
Correct.
But so we're just going to do like a screenplay,
Okay.
not a screenplay, but a workshop, assessment workshop on life after the Normalization Committee, and we have to assess our football and see how we're going to move. I was looking at the FIFA ranking, which Brazil is #1, of course, and trying to get a breakdown on how the World Cup is going to play off. And then I looked at I got to Trinidad.
Oh, you looked, you spent a lot of time looking.
It took me a while to get there. So I decided, let me see, and I seen we were 103 right now, presently.
Correct.
On the FIFA ranking. And the worst we've been is 106.
Correct.
So, and the highest we've been is 25.
25, yes.
So I look at our ranking and say, wow. So how do we pull ourselves out of, or push ourselves back up into the kind of 25 double figure numbers and get out of the 103? So if you and I and whoever else was the president, vice president, and first and second, whatever, when we take office, we would have to sit down and do an assessment and see how we can actually roadmap our way to something better. If we don't do that, then we're wasting time.
Correct.
I mean, so we had to really look at the whole
Right, you must
picture.
have a plan.
Put a plan together, exact words.
Well, Steve, before we can put that plan together, we have to find out the root cause of why we are here. Because if we don't understand how we got here and the wrong things that we did and the wrong turns we made, we will not be able to plan, because we may be planning the same mistakes that we would have had before. So, right, with any plan, you have to assess your current position, be honest, and find out the root cause of why we found ourselves here. My opinion of the root cause that we found ourselves here is that we didn't focus on youth development. And when I say focus on youth development, yes, right, people will say, but we had youth teams. Having youth teams doesn't mean you're focusing on youth development, right? We want to be on the world stage, and therefore, to be on the world stage, you have to play against the best in the world, or the best that you can get to play. And we constantly we only put together teams when there's a tournament coming up 2 and 3 months ahead of the tournament. If you want to have a proper program, you have to have a year-round program where you have to spend that money, and during the international breaks, all your teams have to be out there playing international soccer, or bring the best home where it is that you can play against the best. We cannot continue playing against the Grenadiers and the Guyanas and and the Barbadoses and expect to improve, or expect our youth to improve to reach somewhere. We got here because we had a little success with the senior squad, starting from the strike squad days, and we concentrated, whoever the administrators were at the time, concentrated on making money there, but not investing that money into youth programming so that you have succession planning. That's what it's called. You plan to succeed by planning, you know, right, ensuring that the youth has the correct skill set and motivation and training, technical and otherwise, to succeed the others that have left. And we have not done that in the last, 40 years?
So you saying on our first thing on our agenda as the new president, vice president of TTFA, youth development is what we started.
It's to call in all stakeholders, set an agenda to understand why we have reached here. If we don't understand why, we can't understand where we're going.
Okay, so let's say we're going to set up as our number one priority youth development. So now let's set that up.
Yeah.
What we start doing, we start, of course, getting a format is how we're gonna, a roadmap as how we're gonna get youth development. So the whole thing is, are we gonna do an academy? Are we gonna form an academy? Are we gonna just get people off the street? Are we gonna assess players?
All right, and you see,
and
that is exactly why we are here.
Right.
Because they just try to pull people off of the street or the people that are active. We are loose. Football has been a grassroots game from inception. Football has not been a college game, a university game. It's a grassroots game. And therefore, what you have to do, you have to have a national league. A national league which consists of all the age groups, including senior age groups. And when I say a national league, not this pro league that they have with only 10 clubs. 10 clubs by 20 players, 25 players on a roster, 250 players. That's what you're going to choose, right, your pool out of, 250 players.
So, and you're not talking about that. You're talking about...
I am speaking about you have to start over. When this country was at the top of the rankings, at any point in time, if you go way back, way back when you were in
very way back.
Football, we were amateurs. Our best football was played when the country's players, top athletes, were amateurs. Why? Because we were enjoying playing football. We came out there and we were playing a lot of football. So therefore our skills and techniques were enhanced because you cannot, you know, right, I always use the example, Steve. If you have a young man welding with his father from a teenage, right, started in his teenage years, and you have somebody who went to school to do welding and came out of university to do welding, and they are welder certified with a degree and so on. Who will be the better welder? The young man. Why? He has practical knowledge over the years of everything that you're going to learn in school. He is applying it practically because he has learned over the years. And that has to be applied to football. You have to play the sport to improve. You cannot bring college players because they are bright and okay, they got the education to go to college. What about the players who didn't go to college? What are the players who didn't go to school? And most of the times, they sometimes are the better players because all they're doing is playing. And that is how, if you look at the Brazilian team, most of their stars come out from, right, what we call, right, the ghetto. Right, they come out of the slums. All they had to come out was football. And that is true here in Trinidad and Tobago as well.
So how are we going to, selection. First of all, we had to select.
We have to have a national league. And that national league, that's how we did it in the past, Steve. You select the best. You now select the best from north, south, east, and west. You have a north-south. Then you break it down from, right, that league. you select it from seeing people play.
Okay, we didn't get there yet. Our job now is to form our leagues in the country.
Right, yes.
So let's form our leagues in the country. What we're gonna do? One big national league. We're gonna go back to the communities and do NAFL, POSFL, SAFL. How are we gonna plan?
That is what I would suggest. Go back to the various zones and
Zones.
have your leagues in the zones. Have your community, have those zonal associations control the communities in their zone, run those leagues, and then I'm coming forward to choosing the best in all age groups to have a national competition, North, South, East, and West, and Tobago. That is how we succeeded in the past.
So you feel we need to go back to the drawing board and get to that point?
We have to.
All right.
Because, right, it's not only for the sport and for bringing up our rankings. Sport at all levels, because even basketball, see, this is a football show, but even basketball, all the other sports that we were good at and leaders in the Caribbean have now gone to this single national semi-pro league and so on, and the grassroots people have nothing right to do, no more activity in their communities, and crime has taken over. This will also positively affect crime.
Now, as new officers or the president, vice president of the TTFA, zones, are we going to set up zones in counties, or are we going to do the zones that we used to have before?
North, South, East, West Tobago.
5 zones?
Yes.
North, South, East,
West Tobago.
Okay, 5
because
zones.
even in those zones, Steve, you had minor leagues in communities, because the minor leagues in the communities that's how they selected their community team to represent in the zone. So it will break down even further in the communities. The communities don't just select players from the house. They run their own minor leagues. And therefore, that's how they pick their community team. So they as well have a feeder, right? A feeder program and succession planning in their own little community. Point Fortin had a minor league, and then from that minor league, many minor leagues. Tisha had its own minor league. All the different communities had a minor league. And from that, Civic Center used to pick the players to represent Civic Center. Am I correct?
Okay, yes, you are. But who's going to be West?
Who's going to be West? North, South, East, and West?
What town? North is easy, we know.
Yeah.
And
some of the best footballers came out of Carenage, Steve.
Okay, but that's the only West.
No, you have Marval, you have Carenage, you have Pity Valley. You have all those areas are considered West. You can start from, you have...
from St. James, we going west?
From St. James, we going west.
And going down.
And going down. Yeah.
So that is the west. And the west would be the smallest zone then, because they have the least towns, or...
Let me tell you. I can call 2 off the top of my... You have Elliot Allen, Angus Eve, west. And you have many more players who are not coming to... The Carenage League was one of the best. You have Ron Lafferty, west. Ron Lafferty came out of Carenage.
Time out. Ron Lafferty came from west because the army was... But normally, the west doesn't have... is ocean. The west doesn't have a lot of countries or city towns.
And that's fine, because their league will still...
Okay.
Right, you can have the army as well, right, considered west.
So we have north, south, east, west.
West Tobago. Yeah.
So we forming 5 zones, and we setting up football in those 5 zones.
Yes.
So okay. Now, for our national team, well, we ain't gonna talk about national team yet. Let's talk about setting up football. So when we set up these 5 zones, then we have, just like we've done, we go to the zonal football. The players compete against each other. then we go to the North-South, and that's how we select our national team.
That's how we select our
Okay.
national team.
So let's talk about selecting our national teams.
Now with that, right, let me
Yeah.
put in, with that, you can still have your Ascension League and you could still have your Pro League with the elite players. I'm not saying cancel that. I'm saying to get back to where we were, football has to be played on a large scale where the selection of players is chosen not from 250 players, but from countrywide. And even though those players will be considered amateurs, not in the Ascension League, not in the Pro League, but they will be able to, right, be chosen as well.
Okay, let's take a break now. But when we come back, I will tell you how you are canceling out your zones by forming national leagues in those things. Viewers will be right back after the short break.
Current affairs.
That's
it. That's it.
Welcome one and all. I am Gigula, alongside my sidekick, Mr. Ruka.
Your partner in crime, Juliet.
And we are going to be live on NCBM on a social media platform near you. IG, Facebook, YouTube. We are going to be
Sensational,
tantalizing,
thought-provoking,
dramatic,
educational,
real,
sometimes spiritual,
suspense,
political analysis.
drama.
Take no prisoners, Juliet. Don't forget that part. Coming soon.
20,000 can rise against we like zombies on Juve morning.
Okay, welcome back, viewers. For those of you who work with Trinidad time and tuning in late, this is Field of Dreams on NCBN, and I'm with Anthony Clark, and we're talking about life after the Normalization Committee, prospective life after the Normalization Committee. So, before the break, Tony, you talk about the youth development, and then we talk about the 5 zones, and North, South, East, West, and Tobago, and then you come up with, and we can also have the Pro League, I think, which in my estimation, we canceling out, we're going back to exactly what we have, and we canceling out the zone.
Right now, let me rectify that, Steve.
Okay.
What I meant by that is if I was there, I would only have the zones.
Right.
I have no intention of being there. So if they can make that work with the Pro League and the Ascension League with the zones, and because they are the football minds.
But we advising them.
Yeah. So my advice will be to throw the Pro League, throw the Ascension League.
Okay, yeah. They're listening to us now because we're the experts, and we are advising them what should happen. Okay, we're doing an assessment on what should happen. So we say we have the 5 zones.
Yes.
All right, so let's move on now. So now we have the 5 zones, and we have the whole structure for that. So we're going back to that. I want to talk a little bit about our selection on our not selection, sorry. I personally think we should have something like a national academy, and because where we can spot players from 6 or 10, 12 years old. And again, sometimes you just have to spot people you spot them from different things. How they look on the ball, they're kicking a ball for the first time, a kid, and you say, he looks like he could be another Maradona, right? Mm-hmm. Or if I was going to select players based on appearance, of course, I'm going to look at the athletic build, the one who like to run around, the people who always want to be with the ball, and that, because I always said, if I am going to select players and I don't know who is who and whether they can play or not, I'm looking for the athletic people, the people who...
That's your first sign, correct.
And then I can always try to teach them the
correct.
game. Not necessarily they're going to be the best,
yes,
but that's a start.
Yes, I agree.
How you feel about that, and how you feel about player selection?
All right, well, let me pull back one step.
Yeah.
And speak about the coaches. We spoke about the league and so on. I think the associations should also try to up the technical and knowledge base of football. So while in those zones, the zonal associations and the national association should constantly be running coaching courses for young coaches, right, and so on and so forth, right? So that the technical ability and the knowledge base of coaches imparting knowledge to players will be at a standard, right? So let me put that in.
We have
so that coaches of clubs at any level should have some level of coaching license, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, but you recognize that they are on a continuing education drive.
So okay, so good. We're going to recommend that we have a program
of continuing education.
Continuing education program for coaches. Right.
In terms of the selection, I agree with you in terms of pulling out the special players, and we have always done that. That is how, even though you had club training, you also had zonal teams at all levels training on a particular day. So the zone always had a south zone under 12, a south zone, and you pull those players. We have stadiums in every zonal, every zone in this country. Mm-hmm. So when you say that you can have an academy, the South Zone can use Mani Ramjan or the new Skinner Park that is coming. Mahaika just opened, The Deep South can have, you have the East, you have the West, you have the North. Everywhere now has stadia where you can have that sort of planned, structured academy where the best out of the zones can go and train on a Saturday morning, Saturday evening, Sunday morning, Sunday evening. That's how it used to be. And that's how your zonal teams came into being. And when that time came for that zonal competition, you actually had that.
So our academy could be good for many things. Developing players.
Developing coaches. Correct.
Developing referees.
Correct.
And all of that. So for kids football, I think to develop the younger, it should be only refereed by, let's say, under 12 football or under 14 football. It should be only refereed by teenagers who are wanting to have a career as a referee.
A referee versus a player.
Right.
Totally agree. Very good idea, Steve.
So we can do all of that with our academy.
Yes.
Totalize our academy where we can develop everything that's necessary to carry on football.
But you know what the problem is, Steve?
What?
our zonal associations, the people who go up for selection, do they have the educational background to properly structure, even if it's in sports management? And that's a key thing, that the selection of our officials in these zones are critical. They must come with some level of skill. It must be either in sports management, finance, law. Those are the type of people that right, an association should have. Not just the elders from the community, right, or the boys club. You have to have a caliber of person in your association to make that right, to make the proper plans, to right, have the proper structure. Even a psychologist could be right part of that association body. So when you are planning this thing all over, you have to start from the top, and you have to select the quality of person to run the association in the first place, to be able to develop these programs that we're speaking about. And you have a lot of young minds who have come out from because we have a sport degree program now, which even trains those individuals in terms of nutrition, sports psychology, all that encompassed in that degree. And those are the type of individuals you're looking who have a management degree to be representatives in that association. Gone are the days of just selecting the people who are the elders and who were there from long time to be in the association. They have to bring value. If we don't start from there and ensure that these administrators could bring value, then we wouldn't go anywhere.
Well, perfect, because now that you said that, gives me good idea. We can do this. We can have, for the top football, we can have the older heads with the more experience, with the educational background, with the skill to do that. And under that, for all the other levels, we could have people at comparable ages to work their way up to the top, same way, like a player.
And they could be guided by right, the head. Right, the head of that could be guided. And
exactly.
Right, I have no.
So we're saying, in other words, we're saying, have a development program through the total development program through the administration guys, the players, the coaches, the referees, the everything.
And with that comes reducing your expectation level of when we would be right successful again. Because with that, I think instead of the stadiums being full for national games, these community stadiums will now be full with zonal games.
Right.
And that's what we focus on. With those zonal games and people coming into the turnstiles, I think the integrity of football would come back. Right? Gone are the days when, right, people based on who is the head, we had some, right, very, I don't know what word to use, but we had some questionable past presidents and administrators, and right, like everything else in Trinidad, right, the alleged corruption, it's there, and with this, I think that the administrators of the zones, it's a paid position. It's not right. It's not right. You're not going to get these people to come to do this and you don't pay them. The administration of football is a serious thing. We make so much noise about it, and then we expect people to do things for free. If you want it to be serious, be serious about it.
Okay, so you hit a good point. Finance. And finance is important. Finance is what we don't have. And how do we plan to finance
Again,
all this good stuff?
part of your assessment and your assessment program will be, right, one of the topics will be finance. And going back to communities, community teams have always been financed from the communities. The little shop owner, right, the little grocery man, the little auto parts place, right, that was there. That is how community football, right, was financed, because the community understood the value of sport, right versus crime. And the community, if the shop owner gave a little $200 or $300, somebody could afford $1,000, and the community team came out of that. That is how the teams will be financed. Yes, government gives TTFA a subvention as well. And therefore that subvention could be shared with the zones as well. And let the zones, equally amongst the zones, and right, be able to be, right, finance their programs and so on there. But football all over the world has commercial sponsorship. That only comes if the business community has trust in the integrity of the organization that is handling football. And I think that will come better with the zones, because the zonal football will be people from that zone as administrators, qualified as I mentioned, and they are known in their community, their integrity is known in their community, and therefore I think that the business community will start coming back into football. Do you please remember there's a tax break for sponsoring sport, eh? There's a tax break for sponsoring sport, 100% of how much you're putting up to a certain value, 2 million, 3 million or whatever. You get that back as a tax credit, right, from the government. The problem is the business community is not sure of the integrity of the organizations, of the people in the organization and the organization that is handling their money. They're not seeing it on the field, and they're not seeing it in programs and development and so on. I think once we pull back, and once all these things are in place, I think once you understand that you have a psychologist, a lawyer, a sports management professional, a doctor, these are the types of people that will now, for me, my zonal association will form the administration body of the zone. So with these type of people coming on board and running the association, the business community will see the integrity of the association and feel free to put their money back into football and other sports.
Just as how it used to be back in the day.
Just as how it used to be back in the day.
But with the money now in football, with TV rights and this rights and that rights, and it encouraged corruption.
Well, that is why you have to have people of integrity there.
Right, but how we keep those corrupted people out? How we plan to do that?
One, remember I said, it's a paid position.
Right.
You cannot expect, I always use this example as well. You have a multi-million-dollar oil company, but you're paying the security minimum wage. It doesn't work. You are paying this guy minimum wage to manage millions of dollars. There must be some parity, in terms of wage. Look, especially security. So the administrators must have a decent wage / stipend. Some of these people are going to make this their career. I went to school to learn sports management. This is managing sports, being the president of the South Zone or the vice president of the North Zone, the secretary or CEO, right, or whatever. That I want to make that my profession. So therefore, I must be paid as a professional, no different than a doctor or lawyer. I went to school. I went and all these NFL teams and big sport, these are the people that, right, they hired to run their program and pay them well because it's a profession. So we have to see it like that. We have to see it as a profession. We have to understand the value that these people are going to bring and pay them. Some people can be ex officio members of the administration. A doctor, a lawyer who is there as a first vice president, a second vice president, an ex officio member who has his practice, and so on. They don't have to be paid. But the people that are running the organization, right? The decisions will be made by the board, who you'll have ex officio, right, board members are the doctor, the lawyer, the psychologist, and so on. They will directly see right CEO and the right secretary and the administration how it is they are right. They don't have to be paid. They can get a stipend for coming to board meetings and so on and so forth. But the administrators who are running it day in, day out, they must be paid as professionals.
American politics is the people with the money usually get these high-ranked positions, maybe because they have the money already, they don't need anymore.
Yes.
But here, I don't think we run it that way, is who could bribe or select or get people to vote them in. So when we come back, let's talk a little bit more about that, because that's very important in our planning. Viewers will be right back after the short break.
I come from a place where only happy people and pretty girl everywhere, yeah. I know life is rough, but we still a smile on we face, yeah. No matter how hard, man, we don't let tragedy face, way. We could take strain, that's why when we festin', we just fed hard when we jammin', we just jam down when we drinking, man, it's strong rum, eh. Pop a bottle right now when we festin', we just fed hard when we jammin', we just jam down when we drinking, man, it's strong rum, eh. Pop a bottle, push up your hand, yeah. We see bodies we bad, push up your hand, yeah. God bless this land, yeah. So we go jam down, oh la la, so we go wind down, oh yeah yeah, so we go jam down. So we go wind down and in the air. If you're born right there in this land where the vibes go and I say hand in the air. If you're born right there in this land where the vibes go and I come from a place where even when it's tough we just live it up, it's amazing. When the battle hard we just pray to God for we safe there. Yeah, I know that we safe, yeah. We gon' make it. Cause God is our tree name. When we festin', we just fed hard when we jammin', we just jam down when we drinking, man, it's strong rum, eh. Pop a bottle right now.
Hi, join us for your movie classics on NCBN TT Television Network every Saturday at 10:30 a.m. with repeats on Wednesday at 10 a.m. Streaming live on Facebook and YouTube. NCBN Television, the #1 online television network, bringing you the classics.
Welcome back, viewers. All right, Clarky. So we were talking about how we're gonna finance this project that we're on here now, and we got into keeping the educated or trained people. We make them strong part of the organization, but we want to keep out corruption. Now, what if you and I corrupted? When the head is corrupted, how we stop the head from being corrupted first, and then how do we keep corruption out of this?
All right. You are thinking, Steve, about the present structure of selecting administrators by voting.
Right.
That has to have a constitutional change. If
Right.
you are getting professionals coming in, they have to be interviewed. Who does these interviews? That is a constitutional thing that will have to be made. I would think that you're getting a government subvention, that a government person should be on the interviewing panel. I would think that if you are serious, you would, right, or maybe hire an agency to interview. You set out, write the criteria, write the skill set that you want, the experience that you want, you advertise a salary, and let a private agency do the interviewing for you and give you your ranking 1, 2, 3, 4 in terms of candidates.
Perfect. So that's where we should start with the president.
Correct. No more I vote because, right, and you run down Miaro because, you know, that is where, right, you call a meeting in Port of Spain, but in the last hour you change the venue to Miaro, right, to get your votes.
Right.
Right, we have heard those stories.
Right. So we wipe out the old system in getting the president voting and also the zonal voting, right?
Correct.
All right, so we can't get that. So, but it's still maintained. Is one vote one man, or the zones have a certain amount?
Right, what are you voting for? Right, what it is that you are speaking about voting? What decisions are made by voting?
All right, so presidential right now is voting.
Right, and I'm saying that that has to have a constitutional change because you are hiring a professional.
So zonal voting, how does that work?
Same thing with zonal football. You are hiring somebody to take a job. A sports administrator who went to school and knows how to do sports management, right? Manage sport. You get professionals. You get a professional accountant, right? You get a professional administrative assistant. You get professionals and you pay them. So you go through an advertising agency. You list what your criteria are, qualifications, experience, this, you advertise the right expected salary and so on. And the advertising agency will give you back after the selection of, right, the main association, the TTFA association. You then have qualified people to choose from, first, second, third, fourth.
No, and good. I like that.
With that, you then add community leaders, the doctors, the lawyers as ex officio members of your association to form a board. And that is the only place that I see voting is going to take place now. Because your professionals are hired, you have ex officio members on a board, qualified, the lawyers, the sports psychologists, the doctor, these type of people, and that is where the decision making is made with a set of educated people hired to run this thing.
And my question to you is, where does the money come from?
The money for what?
To get the people in the different positions that
Please remember, we get millions of dollars from FIFA every year to run our right affairs. FIFA's subventions are millions of dollars to run our affairs.
to run it. Okay, but we have to get, we're hiring a board, not a board, but we're having an agency to do our selection criteria
Correct,
for us.
yeah.
We have to pay for that.
Yes, right. The amount of money we paying in lawyers with all these court cases,
But,
we'll easily go to that if it is that everything is done.
is our normalization committee of FIFA leaving us with money to take care of all of these things?
There are things that the FIFA subventions are stipulated for. One of those things are for the administration of football, right? And if we hire proper professionals, that cost of administration of football, because who is that money paid to right now? The president's supposed to be a voluntary position. The secretary is the one who gets paid. And then you have the technical director and all these other people. That is all part and parcel of the administration of football. What has these people done for football over the years? They have us where we are right now at 103. So it's the wrong people. So that money, so you have money there for administration, you have money for professional development, you have money for the referees, you have money for the footballing programs, you have money for all these things as a subvention from FIFA. Football all over the world is run by corporate, the corporate people of the country or so on. You have Herbalife right around in the Los Angeles teams. You have Sharp with Manchester United. You have corporate Trinidad and Tobago. If they see integrity in football, will come back to sponsor football for more than one reason. One, they see that as an avenue for giving back their social responsibility. Two, they are getting a tax break from the government for investing in sport. Three, the National Lotteries program, Playway and so on and so forth, that is specifically for sport and sporting activities, you know.
Okay.
So the government has set that up as a fund to also invest into sport. I personally think that the government will invest more into sport, into football, because we're specifically speaking about football, if they see integrity coming back into these associations.
Okay. So let's say we get the initial cash that we need. How do we sustain? How do we become an administration, a group, well, Trinidad and Tobago Football Administration? How do we become an administration that's self-sufficient, could run its own money after 3 years or 5 years? What are we setting for that to happen?
Okay. That comes with the quality of football. This is setting the stage so that you have now good programs, good administration, good programs. You're going back out to get the talent and so on. You run your leagues and the fans will come back.
Right.
The fans, more corporate sponsorship will come in. You have TV rights. You have all these rights. You have Sports Max that comes here to film secondary schools football. That is TV rights revenue and so on. The quality of the product is what is important. So it starts with the quality of administration, the quality of the programs that they approve, the quality of the board of each, right, of the TTFA as well as each association. That will then come down and reflect into the quality of league, the quality of the player, and the quality of the product. And when you have that quality of the product, the fans are going to come back out, especially in community leagues. You know how those community leagues, when Timon playing Laramie, the whole community, because it's close by, it's 5-10 minutes away from their community. So the whole community will come out and support. That's revenue at the turnstile.
Right.
That is how you become self-sufficient, but your product has to be good.
Okay, so for our product to be good, we have to make right selection of players.
And not only
Right
the players,
coaches.
it starts from the top. It starts from the integrity of the organization. And as I said, we start hiring professionals to be administrators, pay them well so that they can run the organization well, hire the best. If we are so invested into football, we have to get the best to administer football. And in turn, it will have a rippling effect, positive rippling effect,
Good.
going down in terms of the type of programs, the type of continuing education, the type of quality of coaches, the type of knowledge that is going to be imparted to the players, and then the players then come and perform on the field. We have all the other infrastructure in. We have Mahaika Oval, brand spank. What's going to happen there?
That'll change the name from Hiker Sports Complex to Mahaika Oval.
Over, right.
Let me know.
But my point is, what football is being played there right now in that nice brand? Maruga has a brand new, right, sporting complex. On top of that, you have all the other stadium, Manny Ramjohn, Larry Gomes. Right, what's going to happen there?
We'll get some use for it, right? But
If it's structured properly.
if it's structured properly. So if we have all, we're saying now, we're sitting here saying, this is what needs to happen for the next election. The next election is following the same path like we always
And I
just
totally,
follow.
and I agree with you. Therefore, nothing is going to change.
So we're going back in the same.
And that is why I say
Old
you
house.
have to have a constitute. If the present stakeholders in football who consider themselves as the leaders have an invested interest in seeing football in Trinidad and Tobago go on the right path, they will take our suggestions.
So do you think, yes, that is my question to you, right? Do you think we can make that happen, and what would it take to make that happen?
It will take people of integrity, Steve. It will take people putting football before themselves. It will take, that is what it will take.
But I'm saying though, from the time the normalization committee finishes, they pick up the bundle and they leave.
Correct.
And it's up to us.
So therefore, the stakeholders of football now have to decide what they want to do. However, you are hearing of this one, the leader of the Ascension League, already starting to put his hands into people, asking them to, you're a businessman, go, keep running your business and sponsor football like a corporate sponsor. Let somebody who has the ability in terms of sport management or management on the whole, and especially sport management, to take the reins of running football. You have a lot of local sports management professionals. You have Kamara David right now, who is the secretary of the CFU. Why is that talent out of Trinidad football?
For money, maybe?
No, because they didn't want him.
No, that's not totally true.
Of course, he was the secretary of TTFA.
But
When the secretary is a hired position, you know who wanted to be the secretary when what other team come in? Ramesh Ramdan, a referee. With no management experience, you have placed him to replace Kamara David as the secretary of TTFA.
Well,
Chalk and cheese.
true.
And
But
who hires him? Caribbean Football Union.
No, but back up for a second. I can't let you go saying that. Kamara was the secretary for David John Williams
He
administration.
was
Okay.
a hired position.
Higher
it wasn't
position. Well,
for
I'm going
David
there.
John Williams.
I'm going there. I'm going
Right.
there. So now the other group, the United TTFA, whatever, came in and they took Ramdan. Did they hire Ramdan?
They work out a package for Kamara to leave, and then they hired Ram because the man had a contract. A contract. It comes like this: government in, government out. The permanent secretaries of each ministry stays. They don't move.
Okay, but I thought Kamara, if he wanted to stay, that option was still there for him.
You don't want to work in a hostile environment. If they came and offered him an option to leave, it means that they wanted him out.
Okay.
And he is qualified, he has the experience, he got a job like that, where in a higher position overseeing the TTFA. Because as Secretary of the Caribbean Football Union, you're in charge of all the Caribbean associations. So you, fired that guy and he became your boss.
No, but he's different employer.
It is not, the association should not be his employer. The people of football, the constituents of football are his employer because they are paying his salary.
So now he has an opportunity, he got some experience, he can come back.
Agreed, and those are the type of people that we want running football, not somebody that is voted in, but somebody that is hired.
Right.
And that president, I have always said that the president position should be a hired position.
Okay. Let me put you on the spot here now. Who is some prospects in your mind that could take us to the height we need to go?
I will paint that in a broad scope.
Broad brush.
People who have the experience at the level of sports management. One highlight right now is Kamara David. He is now in the bosom of FIFA as a professional running Caribbean football.
So you're saying for president?
For president, yes. That is who has to set the agenda of how our football is run, right? At the president. He leads the team, he leads the board of directors, right? He will help guide everybody else in terms of where is his vision. People select the president because they understood what his vision was before he became president.
So, and who else?
You have a lot of young, somebody else who I can see in the association who also has a sports management degree is our co-host, Jefferson George. Went to school, educated himself, did his degree in sport management. Those are the type of individuals you want running sport and people of integrity.
What about our media guy? What do you think about him?
Sean Fuentes?
Sean Fuentes.
He's a media guy, right? Whoever TTFA decides to hire as their media consultant, because you have to control your communication and public relations. So
no, I don't mean him as a media. I mean him as a president.
No, hell no.
Huh?
No.
Not right.
No.
All right. Well, with that, we got to end it.
Yeah.
So we wouldn't get into more people. Thank you for being here,
My
Tony,
pleasure.
as usual. Appreciate you. NCBN, thank you for giving us the opportunity. Viewers, thank you for tuning in every Tuesday night at 8. So hopefully we will repeat, but you can always go on Facebook and catch a repeat. We have a Facebook page, of course, and we do have an email address, fieldofgreentt@gmail.com, where you can drop us a line. This show has ended. Go in peace. I'm Steve David. Good night.